Hi, everybody. So, I'm just going to talk a little bit today about what is Outliers Fantasy Clash and where am I at on starting it. This is a video blog series on trying to get going doing something new in Clash. So, what is this? Well, if you've followed me at all, you know that I have had a failed attempt at running an esports org. And I was just, sitting around thinking about, like, what would be my dream team? If I could recruit my dream team of people, what would, who would they be? Who would the players be on my dream team? And as I was kind of toying around with that idea, I thought, well, I wonder how that dream team would do against another team. And then I came up with this idea of Fantasy Clash. And for those of you who have played fantasy sports before, you know what this is. This is, in the US, fantasy football is kind of big. I understand there's fantasy hockey, but the basic idea behind a fantasy sport is that you get to pretend that you are the team owner or the team coach, and you get to recruit a series of players for your team that come from a whole bunch of different actual teams. And then your team puts up scores or points, puts up points based on their performance every week or in every competition, and your team makes a score then, and you compete against other team owners who have other players. Now, like I said, you're pulling players from all over the place. So if this is in the U.S. and it's fantasy football, you might have a quarterback from one team, a running back from another team, a wide receiver from another team, and depending on how they do in any given week, they will give your team different numbers of points. So the idea behind Fantasy Clash is very similar. It is that I will I will draft 5 players onto my Fantasy Clash team. And those 5 players, depending on how they do in a specific set of wars, will create points for my team. And so I might have, one player that is on Vatang's main roster, one that's from, let's say, Tribe, one from Space Station Gaming. I might have my eye on somebody from One Hive. And if I put all of those 5 onto a single team and look at their stats, how do they stack up against the 5 on somebody else's team? And that's really the idea behind Fantasy Clash, is that I get my fantasy team and I play my fantasy team against somebody else's fantasy team by watching how our actual players do in actual wars. So that's really the premise here. And right now, I am working to get the technology infrastructure in place so that I can run a Fantasy Clash tournament in conjunction with the August World Championship qualifiers online, the round of 60, the closed qualifier, round of 64 and on. So how this will go is, because it's the round of 64, there's 64 teams. 64 teams have 5 players, that's 320 players. There will be a player pool of 320 players that the Fantasy Clash team owners can draft from. You can pick any of those players to be on your team, of course, with the stipulation that a single player can't be on more than one fantasy roster. So, and then we will pit the owners of these fantasy rosters against each other to see who can get the most points, and allowing some roster transactions and changes between rounds, just to ensure that everybody can do the things they need to do to keep on playing as long as they can. So that's the idea. And where we're at right now is really trying to build out some tools and infrastructure to do a beta trial. So I'm calling it a beta trial that'll happen in conjunction with the closed qualifiers in August. That beta trial will have parts of the technology ready and parts of it will not be quite ready yet, but we'll be able to see if it works. So I'm going to get 16 team owners to want to play, to try to come and play, and even though not everything will be slick yet, hopefully it'll be enough to see if it's fun. And that's the idea here behind the first beta test that'll be with the August World Championship qualifiers closed. Is it fun, and is enough of the technology in place that we can think about moving forward in a bigger way in September? So that's where we're at right now. I'm very busy putting together little tools, Discord sites, Google Sheets, programming stuff, trying to make sure that I have everything in place that I can run a trial. And so I hope to get 16 team owners to sign up, and I hope in my next vlog I can talk about those 16 team owners and how the draft went. That's what we're working on next. So Anyway, hope to see you all here next time. Stay tuned. Great things to come with Outliers Fantasy Clash.